'Tis the month for movie marketing, it seems. Not only because we have the Super Bowl sometime around the time this video gets uploaded, but also the fact that it's just February. Apparently all the movie guys went on break over January, and we're going full frontal with movie announcements now. And there's been a gigantic update from Disney. You see, they've just had their earnings call, talking about their past earnings over the last quarter, and a little bit, I guess, of quarter one, even though that hasn't finished yet of this year. Whatever, it's fine. And also now going into what is the future. Now, we recently covered their biggest update that was worth talking about, which was the reveal of Moana 2 coming out at the end of this year, so they've been working on it for ages, but they came out with a whole bunch of other announcements that I wanted to talk about to learn a little bit more of the business side of Disney going forwards, since they're an interesting set piece right now. Being a cataclysmic failure with Disney Wish for their 100-year anniversary, let's see what happens the next century on, yeah? And for a start, they're already doing things a lot more modern and trendy, and I guess it's a real breach into unusual territory for Disney, being so tight-lipped usually. They've put together a $1.5 billion stake in Epic Games. Clearly the powerhouses of the video game industry that's managing to collab with absolutely everybody from Lara Croft to Rick and Morty. You can tell it's been a while since I've been on Fortnite. Hey, they had My Hero Academia at one point and whatever else they're doing right now. But now there is going to be a Fortnite / Disney open world universe going on, which is crazy. Alright, so on the small hand, that obviously just means that there's going to be Disney characters coming to Fortnite. We're going to actually be able to shoot Mickey Mouse in the head soon. Really, a golden age for video games and movies everywhere. But also, from the sounds of things, it's also a side-specific game being created in the likes of like a kind of Kingdom Hearts, but with Fortnite rather than Final Fantasy. You could say it's kind of like an Epic Mickey game, as another example of what they've done. Or you've got that other franchise game they had in the form of Disney Infinity. It's looking like it's the next generation of those kind of projects, and with $1.5 billion to help control a little bit of Epic Games, they've definitely got some big plans ahead and are willing to make some moves on the business front. But how about we get back to the actual Disney movies themselves? Basically, Pedro Pascal is being pushed and platformed all the more. He is kind of Disney's golden child right now, and so he has been helmed to be attached to the upcoming, confirmed, fully in production, Fantastic Four movie. John Krasinski isn't Disney's golden child, he's just pretty damn good, you know? But on top of that as well, they also have Pedro Pascal involved with the upcoming Mandalorian and Grogu, now officially confirmed to be the next Star Wars movie. That boy doesn't get a break, not to mention he's got to be involved in The Last of Us 2 and also a bunch of other things I think he's currently working on. He's a busy boy, but it's all deserved. So coming off of movies and away from video games, let's talk music. As of all things, they've also made a massive move towards Taylor Swift's Eras concert movie, which is now coming to Disney Plus, right as she's about to be cut to at the Super Bowl a million times over. Yes, they want to own her stuff and keep it tight to their chests. Again, it's big monopolizing dominant forces trying to help commandeer the big pieces, going for the biggest video game industry, the most popular guy in Hollywood, and the most successful musician right now. And there's all the more, there's other elements of Disney's big old pie that they could stick their fingers into. What a weird metaphor. As Disney has also confirmed that they are teaming up with Warner Brothers and Fox to create a mega sports streaming service. Yeah, it's another streaming service, but a sports one specifically. I'll be calling it, Foxy ESPN Max. That's my name of choice personally. Of course, with all these successes in like the 4 big corners of entertainment, they've also made some cuts along the way, as they announced all sorts of things have just kind of been dropped. Whether announcing that they've been left behind or just are omitting them for the near future, it doesn't really matter. This is very clearly not just a mistake, it's a very deliberate choice, as it's no secret that 2023 saw Disney fall flat on its face, embarrassing themselves on an international scale. Ant-Man set the bad taste, making enough money to be respectable, but it was the first Marvel movie in recent memory to be critically panned as an awful movie. It's a shame, man. Ant-Man was great at the start. The MCU then had a run of okay movies, but this one here was the first to get a prolifically bad reception since like Thor: The Dark World or Captain Marvel, really, for the year. Then with the Marvels, the quickly forgotten Haunted Mansion movie, Wish, and the reportedly $300 million budgeted Indiana Jones 5, they all underperformed at the box office, so it's clear there's been a need for a big switch up. Particularly after looking at Wish from Disney Animation, which still sits at $244 million months into release. And in the company of Frozen, both movies in the $1 billion club there, Moana, almost $700 million, and Zootropolis, also over $1 billion, that just isn't up to their standards. Even Chicken Little made $314 million, and that was back in 2005. So yeah, this probably doesn't come as any surprise. They're now making a sequel of all of those. Moana 2, Zootropolis 2, and Frozen 3. And I think also they've already announced a Frozen 4, but that's down the line. I guess following that logic, where's Chicken Little 2? At the very least, let's get that guy a cameo in Zootropolis 2, why not? Oh my god, is Chicken Little's town in the same reality as Zootropolis? I've never thought about that before. I guess that's a future video sorted. If I can ever get around to making a backlogged video that's not specifically set to a trending news piece. So okay, we're getting into the sequel territory. What else is there coming up forward? Well, I've already talked about Moana 2, of course, literally just last night. I can't believe that's low-key coming out this year, and they kept it completely under wraps. I guess that explains why they were so brave after all the beating Disney Wish was getting, because they knew they had something else wrapped up. But also, we got clarity that Toy Story 5 and Frozen 3 will be amongst the 2026 and beyond projects, supposedly. I'm afraid I don't think that Buzz Lightyear reference is deliberate. It's just a common saying, really, but oh well. You could argue both of those series are a little bit tired at this point, but I don't know. This is a Disney update we're talking about. It's not really a surprise. The real question is, will they be able to survive if they manage to cock up even one of these giant projects? Particularly with Toy Story, as even the fourth one generally got the pass with a solid reception. Like, I'm quite a defender personally, but with number 5, there is so much fear that they will ruin it. Like, it gets diminishing returns every time on how you're actually making a quality story, you know? There's no need to rush it. Just give us something good if you want to make money from what will, by that point, be a 30-plus-year-old franchise. But no, they're gonna rush it. You know they will, but you know. Frozen, less so. It kind of already was ruined by the sequel, so I guess maybe the 3 is a chance for it to go better. Who knows? Nonetheless, I can't deny that most general audiences do really buy into stuff like Frozen, and you gotta make sure you can continue to appeal to them, I guess. It makes sense, but I just feel like it's a trajectory going downhill. Right, let's take a deeper look at this whole Epic Games Fortnite project, and it's actually not immediately obvious what that is, since it's kind of an odd update that I all think we probably were expecting the least. So, first off, yes, we have the Disney investment of $1.5 billion into the stakes of Epic Games as a whole, but in essence, they now have a lot of control and say over there. As reported in GamesBeat, the deal is a huge one that could boost the fortunes of Epic Games' vision to build an open and connected metaverse, something Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney has been talking about for nearly a decade. As part of said metaverse, there will be several kingdoms made up of various Disney IP. It's kind of like a virtual Disneyland, I guess you could argue. Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, even Avatar. It's all going to be shoveled into Epic Games and its Fortnite-adjacent metaverse. So, just to be clear, we're about to take our next step towards Ready Player One becoming a reality. Especially because if this is actual metaverse stuff, this might legitimately be a kind of VR Epic Games Disneyland virtual experience. On the subject, Bob Iger has said, we're creating a transformational games and entertainment universe that integrates Disney's world-class storytelling into Epic's cultural phenomenon Fortnite. Very interesting way to describe both those entities, so I guess it's kind of in the Fortnite engine as well, you could argue. Which is Unreal Engine, but you know, there's like the vibes there. But what can you do? Fortnite has undoubtedly been a massive success, and for such a money-hungry corporation, of course this is an investment that makes sense as well. It really is just swinging your maximum money bags to make the most possible profit on top. I guess you'll be able to floss as every single Disney-owned character now. Chicken Little, even, will be doing that floss, I'm sure. Business-wise, this was the big announcement, but there are some other stuff mentioned too. Thank you for making it to the halfway mark. If you haven't already and want to hear more movie news, this was a little bit more business-inspired than usual, come along and subscribe. With Disney announcing 1 million sequels around this time as well, I'll be sure to hop on each of those as a trailer comes out as well. So come to me if you want to hear some news and a random guy's opinion about it. And now, let's get back to business. Literally. For Mandalorian and Grogu, like the mentioned animated sequels, that has now been confirmed for a 2026 release. Weird to think, but that'll mark an almost 7-year hiatus between the theatrical Star Wars movies. How have they not made content out of that? That is stunningly patient for Disney. Beyond that, there's nothing really new for Star Wars fans, really, but for a franchise that Disney bought for $12 billion in 2012, that is quite the break. I just turned 23 when the god-awful Rise of Skywalker came out, and will be 30 when this next movie arrives. Ugh. In fairness, clearly the break was needed. I'm not the biggest Star Wars guy at all, but even I could smell the fury at the last movie. Still, the direction they're going for now is The Mandalorian. After having a surprise hit on Disney+, they're just swinging over that way. Even though I've heard they've already ruined it by involving Mandalorian Grogu immediately in the second half of Boba Fett, and like they removed the whole Luke Skywalker training thing. It's going downhill on that front. But you can't deny that Baby Yoda has been a mega hit for them. You can tell by the amount of toys they've sold alone. At the very least, we do have Jon Favreau again involved in directing this movie as well. They did the TV series, so it makes sense. They also did the original Iron Man, they're a very classical Marvel director. So it's all good. He's also got other things like the cult classically celebrated Chef and that weird outer space Jumanji movie I actually loved as a kid, Zathura. Remember that one? Although he also did the 2019 Lion King remake. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that was his last movie, so it'd be good to see him get a better movie under his belt, I hope it's good anyway. And despite Doctor Strange 2 making the Krasinski fan cast a thing, it appears that really was just a favor to the fans, blame it on the multiverse. And clearly Krasinski's too busy with his Quiet Place universe and that imaginary Friends movie with Ryan Reynolds. So anyway, now we've got ourselves a Stretch Armstrong version of Mando as Pedro Pascal steps into the Marvel universe. Marvel always smashes it with the casting, pretty much, and whilst a lot of people think it's perhaps too obvious, I think this is no exception. He's at his peak popularity right now, like Jennifer Lawrence tripping over at the Oscars era level popular. He's got Mandalorian, The Last of Us, the meme from the Nick Cage movie where they gush over Paddington 2, now this as well, Not to mention the historical stuff like Game of Thrones. This is not only a decent fit, but a good stunt for business as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they chucked Pedro into the logo with Mickey very soon, jeez. Fair play though, Pedro, fair play. On to the Taylor Swift concert thing, this was a no-brainer. You don't need me to tell you that she's at the height of her popularity right now as well, which, for the career she's already had, is a mad thing to say. Off of the Eras tour success, she's now a billionaire, if she wasn't already. People are now legitimately watching a billionaire perform in a 3-hour show. That's kind of bizarre. Amongst the many wins for this concert, one big one was the theatrical release of the filmed version. Released completely independently from any of the major studios, how ironic that they're being swallowed by Disney now, but in fact, I think it was a direct release from her company to the cinemas. And this thing just fell short of a $100 million weekend, going direct to them rather than being split around by all the other studios and companies in the movie industry. That's like blockbuster standard performance for a concert movie. You think that's a common occurrence? Just ask Beyonce, whose movie released just a bit later to $21 million. And this wouldn't have been expensive to make either compared to a full movie budget. The show's already happened and they made their money back then. Not to mention the filming profits on top of that. It really probably is the most successful, profitable event of the last year. They were already going to film it. Hell, I film all of my live shows in a 100-seat theater. You'd bet I'd do the same for a 10,000-strong stadium. By the way, hi, if you're new here, I also do live shows. I'm part of a comedy sketch group. It's a whole Hannah Montana thing I have. Look out for me if you're at Edinburgh Fringe this year. Ultimately, the Eras tour made $261 million for what I'm guessing qualifies as an independent movie. And yes, that is more money than Wish, which had a budget several times the size of this concert recording. Still not as much as Chicken Little though, my boy's still waiting for his Eras tour. Anyway, when one of the biggest movie success stories of the year is looking for a streaming platform, it's a great opportunity for a wounded Disney to slip in and get those subscriptions from the Taylor Swift fans. That's a fan base worth a lot of cheddar. And it's reported that the NFL have made an extra $331.5 million off of fan curiosity about her relationship with Travis Kelce. She's just in a stadium a few times and caused $300 million to happen. Still, this makes a good segue for the final thing, sports. A word that has never graced this channel before, to be honest, and probably never will again. However, it is incredibly relevant to how this benefits Disney getting investors back on board. As much as sports is a thing I generally couldn't care less about, unless it's the Olympics, the reality is that there is a lot of money in sport. FIFA would not be as morally bankrupt as it is if there wasn't insane amounts of money running through it. And the same goes for televising it, which is something very much in its infancy for streaming. However, that all recently changed when something happened from the unlikeliest of sources, Peacock. You know, the guys making that terrible Megamind sequel. That's right, the near literal ugly duckling of the streaming wars with its super dumb name recently experienced the highest single-day subscriber intake ever. And no, it wasn't for the release of any major TV studio, not even their golden goose The Office. It was a football game. Or American football, I should say. So I read, because I have no engagement with this wasn't even a major game like the Super Bowl, this was a minor game, and look what happened. With Netflix now also looking into sports, there is no surprise that streaming sports is suddenly a major interest of all these streamers who continue to lose money. However, what is a surprise is that Disney has announced it's teaming up with Warner Brothers on this, and Fox. For those of you confused, as Disney already bought 20th Century Fox, they didn't actually buy the Fox network. They simply bought the movie division, as legally, you can't own two major networks, and they already had ABC. Alas, there is no longer the word Fox in that iconic logo. Anyway, acknowledging that all these services are stretching people thin and introducing a whole wave of sports streamers would be a disaster. So they're just launching one together, which will broadcast several major sports events. And if this pays off, this could be huge for them. Rule of thumb, there's money in sports, and if they're streaming it, then there's money in Disney. Here's a pitch with these guys working together. Space Jam 3 with Looney Tunes versus Mickey Mouse, etc. It's a sport, and you can make it like another Who Framed Roger Rabbit kind of style thing. Let's get that done. When else did they collab? And get Chicken Little on the team. He's already done baseball. He's an unexpected star. Anyway, it looks like the Mouse House have taken their first big swing at turning the ship around and are expanding their corporate oversight in the process. Yay? It's terrifying. I'm sure we'll get good stuff out of it, mainly sequels, but whatever. But that is the big business update on the background side of things of what Disney's up to going forwards. It does sound like a recipe for success, just, you know, the most classical, basic, biggest money move of just buy everything successful right now. It's very Disney, and you know what? I think it could very well work. What are your thoughts? What do you predict will be next of Disney? Do you think they'll give up on originals entirely, or maybe they'll actually get a success on the side? It's certainly not what they're thinking about, is it? For now, though, I'll just end it off there. My name's been Daz. Thank you for reaching it to the end. I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you in a little bit.